This piece, I did it on an abandoned railway station in Surami. Imagine a place long forgotten, where nothing remains for use. They try their luck in a bigger, louder cities. There is kind of stillness there, but not a peaceful one. On the contrary, a silent, heavy one that grows when hope starts to fade. The wall says, I am the wall, and I can't, but you? This rhetorical question, simple as it is, has power. It does not scream, but it stirs. It becomes a fuel for those who feel frustrated, stuck, and unseen. It becomes a silent pat on the back. I've seen so many people taking pictures with this wall. Some are smiling, some sad, some thoughtful. And even if it is a small gesture, like a pat on the shoulders, we humans need it. We need to be reminded that we are capable of change. Hi, I'm Gagosh, and I do street art. When I started in Georgia, there was almost no street art scene. Of course, I'd seen Banksy, Haring, Basquiat, the pioneers who broke the rules and used streets to speak about social issues. They flipped the paradigm. Instead of bringing people into museums, they brought art directly to public spaces. Weaving the art in the fabric of daily life, making art accessible, unmissable, like a sip of morning coffee. What fascinates me the most about street art is that it allows artists to present worn out, controversial issues from fresh perspectives that touch the public emotionally, connect with them on a human level, and spark reflection. And this is what drives change. So, I was with my first stencil and spray cans on the streets with no experience whatsoever. On my very first day, I got stopped by authorities. Imagine that this was so new to them, they did not know whether that was legal or illegal. So we ended up to discuss the issue, and surprisingly, they could relate with it. This encounter turned into such an exciting moment for me that I fell in love with street art from day one. And you know what is magnificent about it? You don't need to earn a degree. You don't need to be even professional. All you need is a strong concept and courage to put it out there. It's not about beauty, nor about perfect technique. It's about asking right questions and raising the right issues to provoke thought and dialogue. I remember one piece I was doing about femicide. It was a recurring issue by that year. As I was painting, a lot of passerbys commented on this, like, oh, that's a beautiful piece, this is nice. Almost no one wanted to focus on the subject itself. Only one person paused and asked, is it about the femicide that I see recently on TV? And I said, yes. He told to another passerby, who told another one. And finally, while I was finishing this piece, there were more than 20 persons standing behind me talking about the same issue. And that moment, it became clear that this painting is not about aesthetical beauty anymore. It started to mean something. It started a conversation. It connected. It told the story to public. And I, the artist, faded into the background as this art started to live life of its own. And this dispute, this friction of ideas, is what drives change. That's where art finds its power, to raise controversial issues, to force questions into open, to make people confront their own taboos and stigmas they try to avoid. I live in Tbilisi, but I often travel in different regions of Georgia to speak about problems people face here, obviously through walls. I believe it's especially important for those regions because those regions are often overlooked. These stories does not make headlines, but their stories matter just as much. This post I found in the entrance of Khashuri. This is a small town in eastern Georgia. And I wanted to change this place. I wanted to change it into something vivid, more playful. So while I was working on this, almost whole population of Khashuri was standing there. They were getting excited, like what it will be. They were asking a lot of questions. And finally, when I completed this tiny piece, the smile which this brought to their faces, it means the world to me. And this moment, this connection is what keeping me doing street art. Street art is about controversial issues. It is not in a disruptive way. On the contrary, it leads people towards agreement. I remember I was working on, I remember it was time when wave of evictions shaken Tbilisi. And I was doing this piece near the house where eviction just happened. Someone approached to me. By his look, it was obvious he was from internal affairs. You know, those guys, they don't really bother with subtlety. So he asked, like, is it about evictions? I nodded. And then he tried to be strict on me. He said, what we should do now? Like in the way like he wanted to show his power. He wanted to show that he's in charge and he could stop me anytime he wanted. But by this time, I was no rookie anymore. I had a lot of run-ins with law enforcement. So I said calmly to him, as you see, I still need to work on this stencil. When I will finish it, I will get to my car, start the engine. I will warm up my frozen hands, drive home, and sleep because I'm exhausted. And he did not know what to answer on this. He scratched his head to find the answer, and finally he said, all right, in fact, I do not have anything against this. And just like this, a wall, a question, and a quiet human moment. Street art is also a magnificent way to show your culture abroad. This piece I did in Brussels. While I was working on this piece, a woman approached and stood behind me. She was staring at the stencil for a while, and then she started to dial. And I asked her, if you are calling to police, please hang up because I'm not doing anything wrong. This is a traditional dance from Georgia, and this is European Day, so I'm trying to represent my culture. After all, Georgia is candidate of EU membership. She looked at me still a bit suspicious, and she asked my social media. So I gave her my contact. Other day, I received a message from her. She was saying, I read Georgian poem translated into French. I saw several Georgian dances, and I listened to folk songs. And I asked impatiently, you know, you have such a rich culture. We should be one begging you to join EU. Speaking of foreign countries, we have huge immigration. 2 years ago, I did this piece in Tbilisi. I did it in New Year's holidays. The label on the box says, Santa, please bring my mom back from immigration as New Year's gift. Luca, 12 years old. While I was doing this stencil, elderly woman approached, visibly upset, and started to scream at me. Why you are doing this here? This is my wall. Who gave you the permission? And then in her anger, she reached her pockets, she took glasses and started to read the text. And suddenly she froze. Her face expression changed. It softened. Tears welled up in her eyes. And she whispered, my granddaughter's name is Nuka. Now she is 15 years old, and I have not seen her for a long time. And in that moment, the world no longer belonged to her. It belonged to everyone who ever waited for someone to return. This is what street art is about. It's poetry, sometimes sad, sometimes bitter, sometimes satirical, but real. It tells the stories. It tells the story of people's hardship. Well, there are local issues and there are global ones. Whenever I travel, I try to address those issues which has no borders. One of such things is global warming, obviously. This crisis has no borders, yeah? I painted this piece in Porto, near the cozy guest house run by British family. While I was working on this, they were standing aside, watching me and explaining to their son what global warming, what climate change was, in the manner only loving parents could do. They said, Ethan, when your ice cream melts, you get sad, right? He nodded, obviously. Then they said, imagine if the whole world's ice cream will melt together. What a huge tragedy that's gonna be. Ethan's mouth dropped open and he started cry out loud. And his parents could barely calm him down. Appears he really, truly loved the ice cream. I talked a little bit about law enforcement because, let's face it, it is part of street art culture. It's considered still illegal in a lot of places. But this is magnificent. Even when authorities show up, you see that they can relate with the issue. This piece I did in Madrid. When authorities appear, I had done Don Quixote, but I still have not done oil rig. So I used Google Translation to communicate with them. I asked, are you gonna arrest me? They said, what, for painting Don Quixote? If we do that, we would end up behind the bars as well. And then they got curious, like, what we are doing on the left side? Is it a windmill? I said, no, it's gonna be an oil rig, but like you guys appeared and I can't finish it. I needed only 10 more minutes, that's all. And they were strict on me. They said, no, unfortunately, I need to stop it. I can't do this anymore. Because local residents call, and if we receive this message again, if we receive this call again, mind you that we need only 20 minutes to get here. So in this moment, you realize that wall is no longer a surface. It's for dialogue, even for those in uniform. And finally, I want to speak about collaborations. One of my cherished projects was done in collaboration with Polish organization who helped to establish Center for People with Special Needs in Gori. This is a small town near Tbilisi. This is Giorgi, the goalkeeper of Gori's Paralympic football team. He does not have an arm. But this is not an obstacle for him to fly. Giorgi is a symbol of boundless possibilities. This is a last story for today, and I will leave you here with inspiration. This is how I exactly see street art, a way of giving wings to those in need. And really, who among us does not need them? Thank you.